you, Coach Remy. I have personally anticipated having this conversation with you. There's so much I have in mind to discuss with you, but it's fascinating that you don't know exactly what you want to discuss on this show. You just said,
I've been
okay,
asking
let's
myself.
have it. All right, it's going to be very informal and very exciting. But I want you to do something for me. But before you do that, I always tell people that there is only one way you get on this podcast. It is that you are recommended. It's either I recommend or other people recommend because they've seen what you are doing in your society for people in your community. And I'm pleased to have you here based on that recommendation. But before we kick off,
It's a
I would
pleasure.
like you to tell us a bit of your background. There's no topic for this, but we just want to hear your story. Something you can be proud enough to share with your audience. Tell us how you got started in your early days and fast forward to now.
I think I lost you at some point, so I didn't hear the question.
Okay, so I want you to give us a background about you. What was it like growing up, your family background, and how you get started into this space here right now?
Okay, thank you very much, Coach Temi. By the way, my name is Lawal Oluremi. Um, I'm called the Coach Remy for short. Okay, growing up was quite exciting, quite interesting in the sense that I love to refer to myself as an orphan with parents. Okay, life threw me under the bus quite early. As at 14, I'd started facing life all alone. Um, when you are born into a family where things are not normalized, or probably they normalized the unthinkable. So I was born into a family where my father and mother, had their disagreement, and one thing led to another. They both didn't stay together again. And then at a very tender age, you were left to be catered for by someone who probably didn't care whether you lived or died. And there was little my father could do. He's such a loving human being, I can say that. But at some point, it got out of control for him. So we were just
Yeah.
left to face life. What got me particularly into the field where I am today is a statement somebody made to me in 1989. He said to me clearly that I lack parental umbrella, so he could do to me whatever he
Wow.
liked. You know, um, despite being very naive, young, there's no way I would forget that statement. It meant so much to me.
Mm,
By the way, years later, I began to ask myself, how many people do you think are in your shoes who lack
mm,
parental umbrella that the rain of the world is beating mercilessly with no one to help them? Then I said, I'm going to step
lots.
into this. Yes, I was going to step in and help people who are going through the kind of things I was going through. I had nobody to tell me anything. And don't forget, ignorance is everybody's elder brother. So what do we mean by ignorance? Whatever I don't know, I don't know. And what I don't know does not
Yeah.
exist. As far as I am concerned, it does exist.
Oh, does not
It does
exist.
exist. But as far as I am concerned, what I am ignorant of does not exist. And you can't blame me for it. And I'm going to pay dearly for it where I need what I never knew existed, but exists. And yet here I am faced with the need. And yet I do not know it exists because nobody
Wow.
told me. At no point was I told I was going to need it. At no point was I told it's part of human necessity for,
Mm,
traversing this place where we all live right now. So I had quite a number of that. Now, there was a time I had to leave school. And when I left
okay.
school, I wanted to work because I needed to meet my obligations, financial obligations. I had nobody who would call on me to say, come and take. My school fees were staring me in the eye. So I began to go to companies that I wanted to work. And you know, and they began to ask me, where's your certificate? Nobody's ever told me I needed it to work. But as God would have it, I walked into yeah, that's it. No, but like, that's exactly what I was saying. I walked into GlaxoSmithKline then, and as God would have it, they were employing people who had first school living certificate, and they got employed. That was my saving grace. That was what aided me through that journey. And as God would have it, it's a job that was so flexible. I don't know if there's any other company that's still alive today that still does
Wow.
that. That job was so flexible. By 12 p.m., we were done. By 12
Wow.
in the day, we were done. And on Fridays, everybody, we all have the day to ourselves. There was table tennis to play. There was a basketball court. We'll play. Once it's 1 p.m., we are all on our way. So, and as at that time, we had afternoon school. So the people in the morning advantage of that. So those were some of the and every other thing that me. I know we kept going like that. Things began to happen, but by and large, this is why I am into what I am doing today. And to the glory of God, I've been able to, up until this moment, and as long as I'm still living, I keep running into people who have similar or worse case than I went
Mm.
through. Today, as I speak, somebody reached out a few weeks back and he wrote something he sent to me. And the moment I read it, I saw a line that resonates with me, and I put a call across and I asked him, can you tell me the family where you grew up from? And then he said, he took a deep sigh. I'm like, oh, I understand it. I understand it. You're from a broken home. He said, yes. I now began to tell him everything I went through. I said, you're going through this. He said, yes, you're going through this. He said, yes. I said, okay, you will yet go through more because this life that you are faced with right now give you the kind of thing you asked for. You're going to have to push. And that's where I'll open this now. One of the things that was like, I think I won't call it a good thing for me that didn't work well for me as of my story is the fact that I became a laid back. Yes,
Oh.
I feel like okay, life is not for so there was no need to push, no matter how hard you push, you know, order to push you by, and it kept happening. It happened for a very long time. So I began to live that life that they called que sera sera. What's gonna be is gonna be, and I
Okay.
forget
Yeah.
that life
Yeah.
does not happen to us. Life happens from us. So we were not brought here to
Mm.
accept life the way it is. We were brought here to determine how life should be. It took me a while. Let me say this openly
Wow.
because I know a lot of people are learning from this. Just so you don't paint the story to look very beautiful. By the way, real life stories are not sweet. So in case this is boring you, just sit back and learn the lessons there is to learn. So, it took me a while. I think I was way above 3 decades. I was about 35 before life began to dawn on me that you need to push.
Oh.
Yes, I
Wow.
was way above 35 before I learned that you need to push. I had believed everything everybody told me that once things are like this, then it's your village people. You were not born for certain things. You were not born to have
Mm.
certain things. You were not born to do
Mm.
certain things. I believed it. Like I said, if all I've been exposed to is the fake, then the original does not exist. And
Wow.
does that mean that it doesn't exist? It does exist. It's just that as far as knowledge is concerned, that's all I am opened to. So all I've been open to are all that I lived by. And all I lived by could only give me feeding. None could give
Mm.
me living. So I was barely alive and yet I was not living until I got to a point where I realized that life will never drop anything on your laps that you did not ask for. No matter how
Mm.
good natured you are, life would only give you the things you fight for. So I
Wow.
began to fight. Hold one thing. I thought it was a fantastic story that I was sharing. Every time I see people, I'm quick to tell them all my life I've never fought. I never knew it was a wrong thing. I'm not talking about
Wow.
physical fights or having
Yeah.
fisticuffs with people. Yes, I've never fought in that term. You understand? But I carried it on into life that I hardly fight for anything. So the moment there's an argument between you and I over something, I let you have it.
Mm.
I
Mm.
just realized that everything keeps slipping off my hand just because I was trying to be Mr. Nice Guy. And the world we live in is not for Mr. Nice people. Let's get that straight. It doesn't mean
Wow.
you have to be righteous. You will be righteous. Righteousness is not something to be compromised or debated. Fine. But righteousness does not mean you should be Mr. Nice Guy. You must
Mm.
learn when to say no. I was more of a people pleaser. For as long as it's going to make other people happy, I don't care how much tears it's going to draw from me. That was the life I was
Mm.
living back then until it dawned on me that look, if you continue like this, you will just go to the grave and begin to burden the grave with everything you were supposed to have emptied here, and you take them to
Yeah.
the grave. Began to live because one of my resolution in life is the grave is permitted to eat my flesh, not my destiny. So I'll make sure I
Oh
empty
wow.
everything here. Oh yes, I will
I
make
need
sure
you to
I
say
get
that
into the
again. The grave is permitted to eat.
the grave is permitted to eat my flesh and my bones, but not my destiny. So I will leave
Wow.
out my destiny here and make sure the only thing the grave has just the grace to eat will be my flesh and my bone, not my destiny. So from that
Okay.
moment, I began to push. And push, I am still pushing up till now.
Wow. Wow. That's a whole lot. We're just listening to you now. I could be shaking head, nodding, but is there are years of tears, moment of uncertainty, and I know that there are many more people like this. But the question I want to ask is that because what I'm seeing is I'm seeing lack of right mindset. There was no support from that. But before you could make that shift, physics says that an object will always be at a state of rest or continuous movement except an external force acts on it. What was that force? What happened that made you say, okay, this has to be the end of it?
To be honest, this is not a place where anybody should come and postulate things that you're not sure of. So I would not, in a bid to give you an answer, sit back here and tell you with certainty that I knew what was it that pushed me. I can't say. But I knew I just got to a point where I got tired of going from hand to mouth. I got tired of that uncertainty. I got tired of not knowing what tomorrow would be. Yes, they say tomorrow is not sure, but can I at least tell of the next second? If I cannot tell about tomorrow, Friday, I should be able to tell about if now the time now is let's say 9:20 thereabout. I should be able to say by 9:21, I'll get off from here and I'll do this, and it will be precise. So if I can tell the next minute, I don't think I should bother myself about tomorrow. So what I began to do was to take charge of the next minute.
Mm.
Until today, that's been my watchword. Even though the next minute is not so guaranteed because I don't hold the key to my life. But if I am guaranteed of the next minute, I don't bother about the next hour because you live life by the minute. So
Yeah.
all I do is I know what I'm going to do the next 10 minutes. I am very
Wow.
sure of what I am going to do the next 10 minutes. And guess what? You don't ask me for time because I'm going to mislead you. My time is usually 10 minutes ahead of the world. So that's why I
Mm.
am telling you I know what I will do the next 10 minutes. So that was where it took a turn. And I think I went for one meeting. I went for one
Okay.
meeting, Full Gospel in 1991. I can't remember the name of the preacher. I can't. I sauntered in. Somebody invited me, it wasn't something I was enthusiastic about. But then I just felt like, okay, since we don't have anything to do in, let's just find something to do. And I sauntered in there. I sat down, you know, unconcerned, Unbeknownst to me, that was a turnaround for me. So by the time the
Wow.
man was, I heard people who stood for one thing for 54 years. A particular man was busy praying for one other man to give his life to Christ for 54 years. No, it
Before
didn't make
years.
sense to me. I've been praying for one person for 54 years. It doesn't make sense. Then I have other people I could have prayed for. But beyond
Really?
the praying for one person for 54 years, it made a lot of sense to me that if I could just look for one thing to do, I'll be done.
Mm.
I left that
Wow.
place, saying to myself, all I need to do is put my eyes on one thing. And the Bible says, if your eye be single, your body will be full of light. Now, how did I come to that? Prior to that time, I was ready and willing to do just about anything because
Oh,
the only thing I had my focus on was bread and butter. And don't
yeah.
forget, the Bible says, man shall not live by bread alone. We have various interpretations to that. You see, the day the life of a man is narrowed to bread and butter, he's finished.
Oh, please say that again. Say that again.
The day the life of a man is narrowed or zeroed to bread and butter alone, he's done. I think the person should find a way of exiting this place. That's exactly what the Bible is saying. Man shall not live by bread alone. So, and that was all
Awesome.
that was driving me. As long as I gather bread, I'm done. So I wait for bread the next day. And I forget that the bread I gather, rats could eat it, they could
Mm.
go bad. Do you understand? So it does not have hope in itself. So I should be looking for a bakery rather than constantly looking for bread. So I changed my focus. I was no longer about doing one thing. I mean, everything. I began to do one thing at a time.
Mm.
So this is why I said earlier, I know what I'm going to do the next 10 minutes if I leave this program. So I always take charge of the next 10 minutes. I am
Yeah.
always in charge of the next 10 minutes. So that was the turnaround. That meeting turned everything for me that all I needed to do was to place my eyes on one thing. So I took my focus away from the absence of my parents, the
Mm.
absence of my siblings. In fact, which sibling? My elder brother was actually living with me. I was paying his rent and feeding him as at that time. So
Oh.
who else was
Were
I up
you?
to?
That means you
The
were
only
two.
person. Oh no, we're not two. I mean, we're many for my father, but for my own mother, we're three. But as at the time I
Oh.
was talking about, my other brother was staying with me. So I was the one responsible for him. So if at all
Mm.
I had anyone I could look up to after my father, it should have been my elder brother. So the
Yeah.
person I was supposed to look up to is actually looking up to me. So it just
Mm.
closed up everything for me that look, oh boy, there is no hope anywhere except you look inward or look upward.
Wow.
And as at that time, I hadn't even known much about upward.
Mm.
So if there are parents who are listening to this, you see, we all don't know how to introduce God to our children.
True.
A lot of us still introduce him from the point of a need meter, not a father.
Mm. Mm.
I was
Okay, but father meets
introduced to
needs.
God. I was introduced to God as a need meter, not a father. And so every time I'm faced with need, I see him as a God who is not faithful.
Mm.
Because if
Mm.
the introduction that I had of him was that he was going to meet my needs, so I expect him to meet my needs at every point in time. Meanwhile, there are
Time.
needs that God would never meet because he has given me the ability to meet them.
Awesome. Awesome.
So if you introduce God to me as a father will guide me. A father may lead me to where grasses are, but he will not teach me how to use my teeth.
Mm.
But the generation we have right now, we are leading them to God, making them think that God will lead you to the grass and help you crush the grass. So when he doesn't do that,
Wow.
faithful God. So we should concentrate more on introducing God to our children as a father.
As a father.
At some point, would allow certain things to happen to you. It doesn't mean that he hates you. We had a
Mm.
pastor back then when I was a pastor friend of ours. He was robbed and shot. So we went to visit
Oh.
him as a group of pastors. And while we were there, somebody, as the pastor had been unsettled, uneasy, and all of a sudden he spoke up and said, "Where was God when these idiots shot you?"
Oh.
And the guy, the question caught all of us unaware, but not the man he asked. The man had a ready made answer. And he said, "Where God was when Jesus was nailed to the cross." So there are a lot of us who have entitlement mentality that God must do everything for us. A while ago, you
Mm.
quoted a law of motion. Am I
Yeah.
correct?
Yeah.
A while ago, you quoted law of motion. Now, let me say this to us. This is me delving into another part of life. By the way, I'm a life coach. And in life coaching, one of the things we concentrate on is to teach people the laws of life. There are too many
Awesome.
things God cannot and will not do.
Yeah.
There are too many things. Let's get it right. There are too many things. Not that he cannot do them, but he will not do them because he doesn't interfere with our ability to make decisions and choices. That's the reason why God will not and cannot do them. If you face
True.
me in a fight, if you face me in a physical fight, God will look elsewhere. He has given me two ways to deal with it, through wisdom or through strength. The choice is
Mm.
mine. We are both his children. On whose side should he be? Yours or mine? He's a fair God, a just God. So God will not interfere in our fight. He cannot
Yeah.
interfere in our fight. So too many things that God cannot do. So you were quoting a law earlier. Most of us do not know that we live in a world that respects laws.
True.
And
Yeah.
until you have accurate and appropriate knowledge of those laws, one will keep struggling. There is this current one that we are dealing with, cause and causality. We pay
Yeah.
too much attention to cause, but we don't pay attention to causalities. We don't pay too
Mm.
much to effect.
Mm.
We talk about the law of sowing and reaping. They tell us when we come to our faith gatherings that sow so that you can reap. But one of the things they don't tell us is number one, it didn't say you will reap where you sowed.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
It said
You didn't say
sow
you
and
reap
you will reap.
tomorrow.
It didn't say you will reap tomorrow. It said sow, but you will reap. Reap you will, not where you sowed.
Mm.
We need to understand some of these laws that govern this place where we are. And until you understand them, and that law is saying, which is what I operated, it is by understanding, by hindsight now that I'm understanding what I did. You asked me a question earlier. What did I do that brought the change? It is this law of
Mm-hmm.
sowing and reaping that changed me. Okay, for the kind of seed I'm expecting, for the kind of harvest I'm expecting, rather, what seed do I need to sow? I needed to sow the
Mm.
seed of mindset. My mindset up until that time was expecting someone to come pull me out of the merry clay.
Mm.
And by the pool of Bethesda, he was constantly looking for who would throw him into the pool.
Yeah.
So even when Jesus was standing before him, Jesus needed to change his orientation first, because all he knows
Wow.
was the fact that someone has to throw me into the pool when it is stirred. And here is
Oh,
the pool himself.
can I come here?
Please
So,
do.
talking about mindsets, there's a whole lot around mindsets. And even when you
Sure.
make that decision that you want to start changing the course of your life, it's possible that there are people that might stumble on this podcast. They've made that decision several times. But from where they are to the next step to take, to now continue on that path, they don't have a clue. So, what is the ABC to start doing having that kind of past to now say I want to now change my ways. What can I start doing that can lead me to that change I'm expecting?
Okay, I'm trying to see. Let me try out something. Let me try out something and see if it works. When I teach people on sales, I tell them three things. We have closing a deal, we have sealing the deal, we have sales, and then we have opening. It's opening, sales, and sealing the deal, right? But are you aware that we do it from reverse? You
Mm,
close the deal first, you now sell before you open a continuous sales. So what we do now is this: to change the mindset. To change the mindset, you first do what we call a pictorial uproot. I'll keep using the Bible. That's my best book. I've read books. I'm reading books, but the most I refer to all the time is the Bible. The children of Israel had been in Egypt for a while.
oh, that's a good example.
Planted in their head is garlic and cucumber.
Hi,
So
oh my
even when
God.
they were offered something that was way different and healthier, they revolted. God
They didn't
needed to
appreciate it.
take it off their head. In fact, God had to school them. He told them, are you aware that what I'm giving you is made of coriander seed and honey?
Mm,
Are you aware? So he had to school them. Now, there's nobody to school you except you go for books and listen to like-minded people that will speak to you so that you can do pictorial uproot of what you have been used to. If not, deep will keep calling to deep. You keep looking at your past. Now, let me give you this typical example. If a man has been poor all his life and it's time to look for a house, he would desire Banana Island. Hear me well. Hear me well. He's been poor all his life. Now he wants
mm.
to change house. He wants to move house from a location where poor people live. He will desire Banana Island. The moment he steps out of his house to go and look for a house, nature will gravitate him to where poor people live.
Wow.
Nature will gravitate him back to where poor people lives. That is where he would have to step in to say, no, I know that this is what I'm used to, but I want something different. Even if
Mm,
I cannot get Banana Island, I need to get to somewhere close on my way to Banana Island. Where I am
true.
right now is not where I belong, but this is just where I am on my way to where I am going. Until he changes his own mindset, nothing can change it. I just
Mm,
made it
yeah.
clear. If God had allowed the children of Israel, they would have by themselves turned back and walked back into Egypt. Nature will naturally gravitate you back to what you are used to. I'll give you another typical example. If a Yoruba man
Okay.
travels to Germany today and then he finds himself in the midst of plenty people and everybody is speaking Dutch, and suddenly he hears somebody who says, he doesn't need to know the man's place of origin. The fact that I heard somebody speak something I am used to, he would
Yeah.
naturally find himself back there. He will identify the man amongst the thousand. Do you understand what I'm saying? That's how nature
Yeah.
is. It is you who would keep resisting the urge to go back to what you're used to so that you can go to what you want to be like. So there is who we are and there is who we want to be. So who you are
Yeah.
and who you want to be may be two different people. So, but you will resist the urge of this pulling you back. I'll use two systems to describe it right now.
Okay.
Aeroplanes and eagles are two things that live differently above every other thing that is in creation.
Yeah.
And guess what? These are two things that work against nature. The aeroplane will look for where the wind is boisterous and it puts its head. And that's what gives it the trust.
Yeah.
Because the moment it goes in, the air will come under and push it up.
And
It's
lift
the
it up.
same thing
Yeah.
with the eagle. The eagle does not have a strong wing. The eagle's wing is
Oh.
not strong. Mm-mm. The eagle's wing is not strong. The eagle cannot flap for too long. Unlike
Mm.
the albatross can fly for one whole year on its wing. It doesn't rely on an albatross will be in the air for one whole year or more, flying, not perching. The eagle cannot do
Wow.
that. So the eagle relies on the wind. That's why the eagle will look for where the wind is, enter into it. The wind begins to give it. That's why the Bible
Mm.
said they mount up with wings as eagle. So they mount it up. The wing will just spread its wing and allow the air to do the rest, which is why most of the time you see the eagle, the wings are spread like this and it's
Yeah.
gliding.
Gliding. Yeah.
It hardly flaps. I don't know if you're getting what I'm saying. The moment it
Yeah.
takes that
I'm
thrust, it only
getting you.
flaps when it's taking the thrust. So you're the
Yeah.
one that will change your own mindset, not anybody.
Wow. So talking about this illustration you just made, there's something coming to my mind, and which I think because in life, there are several things that comes your way. While you are trying to sort this, something is going wrong. While you are working on the mindset, your family are complaining, work is not doing well. Perhaps you have a family already, you have a child already. So many things. Now talking about leveraging on, you know, eagle leveraging on the wind and aeroplane leveraging on the wind. Are there some things that we can leverage on in life that can give us that edge to fasten or to hasten our journey to get where we want to be?
Yes, there are lots of things we leverage on. You see, okay, the network knocked me off at some point. Sorry. So it is my as parents would help our children, to get to understand these things at an early age. You know, if you don't, you said something which is critical, and the word cannot stop for anybody. No matter how much
Yeah.
I pray, I can't pause my age to say, okay, God, hold on for me. Let me be what I am now. In 5 years' time, we start from where I stopped. I can stop my wristwatch from working, but I won't stop the earthly clock. If I stop my wristwatch at 10 o'clock, when it is 2 p.m., it is 2 p.m. globally. I don't know if you're getting what I'm saying. It is my wristwatch that
Yeah.
stopped, not the global time. So if we can get certain things done very early, and what are those things? Let me first and foremost navigate us through helping children understand it. And then, as adults who have crossed certain Rubicons and now they are faced with certain challenges while you're trying to deal with this is coming. By the way, at no point will you rest. We walk till the
Mm.
day we die. At no point. Because man is insatiable. That's the truth.
Yeah.
Man is insatiable. If I decide today that I want to leave 5 million each for my children, by next year I will think, why don't I make it 50 million? By the day I
Mhm.
achieve 50 million, I'll be like, why don't I just make it 100 million so that life can be? So man is insatiable. Now, for children, please help them. For everything we all need to be human on earth, we with it. And everybody succeeds with what is within, not without.
Yeah.
Every
True.
human being succeeds with what is within, not without. This was how God had to help Joseph. Joseph was contented being the favorite son and with the coat of many colors. God had to deny him the position of a favorite son and took away that coat from him. Uncle, your life is way beyond
Wow.
favorite son and coat. God had to do that. So a lot of us, we are busy giving our children the position of a favorite child and coats of many color. Their lives are worth more than that
Wow.
position and those
Wow.
coats.
Wow.
Open your children up to whatever gift they have, even if it doesn't suit you. Too many times we may not like what our children want to do. Yes, it's good when you are planning your children. I want one of my children to be a medical doctor. I want one to be a lawyer. I want one to be a pilot. Fantastic idea, but you are not God. You are just a mere caretaker. Even if God says this child is
Yeah.
going to be a musician, just relax. and guide the
Mm.
child in the way of God, so that the child will do the thing pleasing God. That's all your job should be. That's all your,
True.
so find what that innate ability is, set that child on that course, and then help them to get education to support it so that they can do it. You know, when an educated man does something, it's way different from the way somebody who is not literate will do it. So give them an education to
True.
support whatever thing God has called them to do, even if it is a secretarial job. You will see excellent secretaries here on earth. And then as an adult, let's say you missed it because of life travails, you couldn't get it early, and here you are, you're married, you know, you have children. So while you're trying to put a structure in place, another structure is coming to destroy your structure. You know, it will keep happening, to be honest. But there are times when you would have to, this will not go down well with a lot of people, and I'm still going to say it. There are times when you would have to damn certain consequences. People are not going to like you because it's not a favorite decision. When you have to be like, look, life to win for you. So there are times when you have to shut certain doors, concentrate on yourself, the breadwinner, so that you can be alive to be a good breadwinner.
Hey.
Because if you don't do that, if you don't do that, oh, God help us, they will stand by the grave of the breadwinner and they'll be singing, to God be the glory, great things he has done. So you must shut certain doors and damn the consequences. They are going to label you for the period that it will take, but make sure you have your plans well cut out. Like, if I insist, madam, for now, what we can afford is just one room. Can we move to one room? And if she says no, please go and pay for a flat. I'll come and live with you. But for now, here is the money for one room. You can add the rest for it and go and rent a flat. And madam, for now, our meal is 2 square meals. Nobody said it must be 3 square. After all, 3 is not square, neither is 2. So what we do for now is 2 meals. And the 2 meals, we'll try and see how we can balance it. We will not suffer anything. So let's do it. And we keep going like that. People will resist you, just like men resist change. Every human being will resist change. So men will resist you, but stand your ground, but be sure that your plans are concrete. You know that it is going to deliver this in this, by this time 3 months, by this time 6 months, by this time 1 year, by this time 1 year 6 months. These are the deliverables before you start making those decisions, because they are waiting for you. If you don't deliver, that's when you will get your backlash and you will not like it. You will feel suicidal then. But by the time you sit down and say, okay, every time I want to plan to build a house, school fees will come. What can I cut down? I'm sorry, our children are not going to this school again. They will go to this school. Don't worry, I'll make up the rest. If you think that clear, yes, no. If she says no, fine, okay, go and pay the rest. Look for your Ivy League school and pay the rest. Go and report me, and I'll tell them I never said I won't pay the children's school fees, but I said I'm going to pay in
Yeah.
this school. You wanted it. So I will give you my little, then you go and support the rest. Do you understand? So you must take certain strict decisions. Do you think it was easy for God to ask the children of Israel to go through the wilderness for 40 years? No. I'm not sure it was an easy decision to ask Moses to go to the back of the wilderness for 40 years. It wasn't an easy decision. But there are times when we must navigate our ways through the wilderness and be wise about it, so that when we enter the promised land, we can enter gloriously and then be able to sustain it. Because if you don't go through that wilderness and earn yourself wisdom, even when you enter the promised land, you will kick yourself out.
Wow. Wow. Awesome. I mean, you've said a lot, and you've covered some of the questions I would have loved to ask. But I also want to ask, looking, we see things clearer when we look back. When we look back, we realize that, oh, I should have done it this way or that way. Looking back in retrospect, what do you think your parents should have done right that you, okay, I think I lost him.
Yes, it's back now. It's back now.
Okay, so I said we see things better when we look back in retrospect. Now, looking back, what are the things your parents didn't do right that you have vowed that you would do for your children or help other people to do for their children? I think I lost him again.
Okay, he's back.
Okay, I'm not sure you got my question.
So sorry.
Okay, why is this network like this? So,
We're back, isn't it?
okay, so looking back in retrospect, what are the things you your parent didn't do for you that you would like to do for your children? It's fine.
Let's hope.
Okay, so I think it's when I talk, that's when network kicks off. But I just want to know the things your parent didn't do for you that you have vowed to do for your children or help others do for their children. So I've lost your audio. I can't hear you. I guess the mic went off. Yeah. Okay.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you, sir.
Okay, so I think Isaiah chapter 54. Isaiah 54 said, "Thus saith the Lord to Cyrus, he just held his hand, walked him through the journey." As a parent, see, stop looking at how much you have. From experience as a parenting coach, I've realized that children don't even care so much about how much you have until they are exposed to every other thing. Give your child 10 naira biscuit. Your child is so satisfied. Do you understand? For as long as it is garnished with love. So one thing I am going to hold my parents is the fact that they didn't handhold me. They didn't handhold me. And I promised myself that I'm going to handhold my son, which is the reason why in my house, if you see my son and I talking, the age difference is about 43 between myself and my son. But if you hear us talk, you would almost think we are both age mates. I want to
Wow.
handhold him. Oh, I want to handhold him. I want to guide him. We have conversation, heart to heart conversation. So I want him to talk from the point where he himself will amaze himself. So too many times, there are too many things I see my
Mm.
son do that even as an adult, I don't remember doing. I don't remember doing. I see my son now. He sticks paper everywhere. Things he wants to do, things
Wow.
he has to do.
Wow.
Can I shock you? I don't do it. I stick my own papers in my head. No, sorry now. You don't have to laugh at me. I'm being honest. I told you one of the things I'm going to bring here is to be honest. That's it, because people will fact check. A lot of people know me who would listen to this. I stick my papers in my head. So my son, when he's leaving for school, will ask you to buy him stick-on papers. So we buy it in bulk and give to him. So he sticks paper here and there. I don't do that. And I didn't handhold him to do that. But in handholding him, my son will come back and make sure he reads one book before he leaves. If he's not able to finish it,
Wow.
he will read it to a certain point. He's also becoming a prolific writer. He will write, tell me to go through it. He's beginning to do some of those things. Now, like I told you, you're never going to succeed more with extrinsic things than you will do with intrinsic things. Some of the questions I ask people in life coaching or in business is, aside from what other 5 things, with the things you're doing right now, what other 5 things can you do with those things? That's number one. Number two, what other 5 things can you as a person do? If you can dig up 5 other things you can do, that's all you need to prosper in life. That's all you
Wow.
need to prosper in life. Time will not permit me to begin to break down the 4 rivers that came from Eden. Let me just say a little thing about it. Are you aware that
Okay.
the Bible says a river flew from eastward? The garden was, planted eastward of Eden. Then the river
Mm-hmm.
flew from Eden itself and then broke into 4 different rivers.
Wow.
So the 4 rivers did not break from 4 different regions. They broke from the same source, but they became
Mm-hmm.
very large rivers, and all of them with significant representations.
Yeah.
David was a man who would have succeeded with all the 4 things he found about himself. David would have been a huge success. In fact, he was a huge success as a musician.
Mm.
David was a huge success as a shepherd.
Yeah.
Don't forget, David was a huge success as a warrior. He never lost any battles. We can count the number of battles David lost on this one hand. A very successful man. But yet, David did not rest because those were his secondary giftings. David had his primary gifts, but he did not discontinence his primary gifts. He secondary gifts, made good use of them, but he waited for an opportunity to use his primary gift, which is human capacity building. He was the one that none to meet in the wilderness, and he turned them into people of valor. The Bible referred to them as mighty men of valor. That was his primary calling. So in every child, there are secondary callings. Some may excite you, but do not rest on them. Help your child to find their primary calling, because there
Mm.
is success. So if you're a parent hearing me right now, go and sit back and take a closer look at your children. What are the things my child don't see? If you identify them, so you identify the ones that their primary callings are meant to give him a way. They are meant to give him a way to his primary calling. All the other things that David did created ways for him to his primary calling. It was being a warrior that brought those connectivities to him. It was playing music that exposed him.
Mm. Oh, I think I've lost your audio. I can't hear you.
Check.
Okay.
Is it back now?
Yes, it's back. I don't want to miss that point.
Oh, okay. So what I was saying in essence is all the other things that he did opened him up to his primary gifting. So as a parent, observe your children, observe their secondary giftings, help them to develop it, because those are the things that build their courage to go for their primary gifting, because we need courage to survive. So if they can build courage on their secondary giftings, taking their primary gifting headlong won't be a problem at all. But you see, our challenge is that we want to foist our desires on our children. So those children will
Children.
end up becoming second-class citizens who are merely living the dreams of their parents and not theirs. Even though they are rich, yet they are miserable.
Wow. Wow. So powerful. I have a very specific question for you, and it might be biased.
Go ahead.
Between the age of 0 to 2 or 3, what are the most important things to do for your children? Because at that age, they are not so aware of life. What can you do to help them?
Okay, I don't know what is bias in the question, but it's a fantastic question. And let me say this. Let me say this. You see, everything we do for children, all our shout and noise on the teenagers is a waste of time and effort. They are not listening to you.
Hmm.
Now, there are three stages in the life of a human being. We have the age 0 to 7. It's been extended to 10. Then we have age 10 to 20 and 20 and above. Now, the age 0 to 7 is the formative years, and that's when you win a child. That's when the sum total of who the child would ever become, values are, inculcated, discipline is put in a child, and that's when virtue is taught. That's when you capture everywhere the child navigates. But in between the age of 3 and 5, that's when every parent should pay close attention, because that's the exploration age of children. Some could drag it from that age to 7. And what do I mean by exploration age? Because most of us are not willing to pay the price. We shout them down. We
Hmm.
shout them down. Now, that's the stage where you see children, they explore. Your child will see you speaking with somebody on the phone. The child believes that people speak to people. So whoever is speaking to my dad is inside the phone. So the child will want to break the phone to identify the person that is speaking to you. The child is not destroying the phone because the child wants to destroy your phone. The child is being
Ah.
inquisitive. So when you see a child pick your phone and is doing something, just take the phone and sit the child down. You see, that person that is talking to me has a phone like this too. So when the person calls, the person's voice will come through this place. The person is not inside this phone. They may not be
Hmm.
able to comprehend it, but you keep emphasizing it. Over time, they will comprehend it. That's the stage where parents' job is mostly required. That exploration stage, when a child begins to explore with everything. When we were young, what we're doing is, you see us, that's when we toy with gun, poo, 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 poo. And not one thing, you would never see a boy child back a baby. A boy child will do everything a man does. So he's either the one acting like the man, wearing glasses and commanding people to go. And you will see girl children will do what women do. They are the ones who would imaginary pot, gather leaves from here and there and tell you they've made a fantastic pot of soup. Times, that's when you should culture a child into what the child should do and as. Okay, sorry.
It's
Am
fine.
I
It's
still
fine.
audible? Can you
Yes.
still hear me? Okay, some of them will break things. Why some of them, and please, when it happens, can you just please, I know that child is destroying, but I'm very sorry. We're in Nigeria for now. Even your Wi-Fi and everything will just be the way they are. Now, my question is, would you rather want to lose the object that you spent your hard-earned money buying, or lose the destiny of a child that could buy you those things 1,000 times over?
Mm.
I want us to provide answers to that question by ourselves, for ourselves. Would you rather, because when you shout down the child, you have taught the child a lesson that in this life, you're not permitted to go beyond certain boundaries. You have set boundaries. And those are the children that will never explore beyond what their capacity can take, because every time that voice will be behind their head. You know, when the Bible says you will hear a voice behind you saying, this is the way. So every time the voice of the parents will be behind the child, telling the child, no, $10 billion is not for somebody like you. You cannot dare it. No, 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 no. Risk is not for somebody like you. So the person will just be doing business in shallow waters. And yet you are desiring a child that will do business in deep waters. So if you desire a child that will do business in deep waters, it starts from when they are between 3 and 7. When they start trying to break your TV, they are climbing every wall. When they climb, just stay there to provide shield. Oh yeah, calm down, calm down, calm down. You see, I like your exploration. You see, there are times when you do this, you climb Mount Everest. You now tell them stories of people who climb Mount Everest. You're building their confidence.
Mm.
We'll get this done. We'll go through with this. I hope you still hear me. So when it is time for them to take on life, that is when that scripture will be behind you saying,
Wow, wow, wow. There's a lot going on in my head, and I think we will need to have another session for this because I'm seeing that there's a lot you like to say, but because of time, I want to ask one last question so that we can round it because of time. What is one thing you desire to do as a legacy for this later part of your life?
okay, I have two scriptures that God used in commissioning me. The first one was in 1991, April to be precise, from Genesis chapter 12, verse 3. It said, through you shall the families of the earth be blessed. This is what brought me into family life that I am doing today. So everything I do is around family. It's around family. So before I die, which is still about, I'll die at 93. You'll be shocked. I'll die at 93. Oh, yes. So I still have a long time to go. But before then, I want to witness 1,000 families, 1,000 minimum, right? Families that would say we are married and we are navigating it with so much peace. People think that marriage comes to change people's lives. It's not supposed to be. So where you have people, take people, from take them through the rudiments of how to build a marriage, so that marriage can improve you. The Bible says one shall chase 1,000 and two 10,000. So in marriage, people are meant to double their not effort. People are meant to double their incomes. Now, stop looking at money. People are meant to double their inheritances. People are meant to double whatever it is they were before they got married. That's the essence of marriage. It's meant to increase me, not to reduce me. And I realize that marriage still does that. But it is the fact that we get it wrong before we set ourselves on it. So that's one of the things I am set to do. And again, is I want to have 1,000 children who went through my kind of experience, who would live life and not be ruled by the memories of the past, but by the memories of their accomplishments. Those are the two things I want to achieve in life. 1,000 children who had my kind of experience, who will not be ruled by the memories of the past. Because there are times, let me say this publicly. I was not named Remi.
Wow.
I was not named Remi. The name Remi came out of tears and pain in the year 1996. I was somewhere in Onigbongo, here in Lagos, and just that morning, Ebenezer's song just came, after my heart has been flooded, with the memories of all the things I've been through, how life had thrown me, storms of life here and there, most times to places where I never wanted to be. By the way, when I say place I've never wanted to be, I've never been to police station, I've never been locked up, I've never been arrested, I've never fought. So when I say those things, don't think that we should just quit thinking negative. But there are too many things I've experienced that I never wanted in life. So suddenly that song came to my mind. And I began to weep. I wept for close to 40 minutes. And by the time I was done, I just came up, Oluwa Remi Lekun. And that was the day I changed my name. That was the day I changed my name. So my name changed in 1996 and it has come to stay. So that's it. I want people who will not be ruled by the memories of their past, but by the beauty of their present and the glamour of their future. Those are the two things I would want to achieve.
Thank you so much. Your story is very emotional and there's a lot to learn from it. I also know that we can't unpack everything on our, but I promise that we'll get back to this. But this is a video that people need to watch over and over and over again. Over and again. Thank you so much for your time, sir. I want to take you beyond this
It's a
time.
pleasure.
I appreciate what you are doing for the community. I mean, it's people like you that I want to have on this podcast because family, everything springs up from family, and you are doing a great job. Thank you so much. So I will end it here. Thank you so much. I really appreciate. We'll
It's a
see you
pleasure.
next time. Thank you so much, sir.
Pleasure. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Welcome, sir.